This is the Voice of Early Childhood podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Voice of Early Childhood podcast. My name is Angelica Slinska. I'm your host, and today I'm joined by Lauren Middleton and Melissa Wilson. Thank you both for joining on the podcast.
Hi.
So this episode is part of a series outlining the Brain Set Learning Environments project, which the Astrea Academy Trust is carrying out across its early years phase with the support of Dr. Sue Allingham. And the Voice of Early Childhood has partnered with Astrea Academy Trust to share this project and share the educator journeys throughout, because it's been quite a long-term project so far. And really the project has been looking at understanding the environment in line with the needs of the developing brain, which is what the Brain Set Learning Environments formula is all about, which I'm sure we'll hear a little bit more about in context from Lauren and Melissa. So we've had a few episodes so far from those involved in the project, and today we're joined by Lauren, who is the early years lead, and Melissa, nursery teacher. So both from Hartley Brook Primary School, part of Astrea Academy Trust. So it would be great if you can both, or one of you, could really give us a little intro about your school or setting and a bit of context and background, please.
Yeah, our school is, we're a 3-form entering in quite a deprived area of Sheffield.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment we have 71 reception children and nurseries.
I want to say 58.
58 nurseries,
That's
so
quite
quite
a
a
lot.
large primary school.
Mm-hmm.
Our setup is we have nursery is one end of the school, reception is the other end of the school, so it's not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
But we've tried to make it as consistent as possible across both bases.
Mm-hmm.
Nursery is just an early years base, whereas reception is 3 classrooms.
Okay, so 3 classrooms. So yeah, quite a lot of children, a lot going on, a lot of team members as well, I bet, to kind of work with and make sure that everyone's on the same lines and really working together.
Yeah, nursery has Melissa and 3 teaching assistants, and reception has 3 teachers and 3 teaching assistants. So a lot of staff.
Yeah, wow. So has everyone been involved in this project then? Everyone on your teams?
Everybody's been involved. We had the first meeting with Dr. Sue that everybody attended, all the early years team attended, and from then we've just really gone with the flow. Everybody's really bought into it. I think they've seen the value of the Brain Set principles, and we've seen it in action. Our children love our learning environments.
So does that mean that you've changed quite a lot of things then since the start of the project?
We'd started working with Nikki Turner, who's our Astrea EYFS lead anyway, developing our learning environments. We felt it was something across what we needed across our early years, and we'd started to look at communication friendly spaces. So we started to do little bits, but probably didn't do the theory behind it and the pedagogy behind it. You know, we were doing it because it looked nice.
Yeah.
We updated the classrooms, but then since working with Dr. Sue, we've got the theory behind it, and now our environments, I mean, they're still developing, but they're at a standard now where it's just little tweaks are being made, and it's not like killing us to change it.
They are completely different from before as well,
They're
aren't they?
so different. I've been at Hartley Brook, I think I'm going into my 14th year, so I was here as a long time, part of the furniture. And Melissa was here as a student and then a stay, so 6 years of teaching.
That's so nice.
So and within early years as well, so we've had we've seen it go through a lot of changes. Environments when we first started were bright colours,
busy,
so busy, far too busy. We've been looking at photos from what we had and pre-COVID photos, and the amount of stuff is unbelievable. What we had up on the walls, and no wonder
you didn't realise how overwhelming it was, or how much it was taking, until we've started doing this and looking at it a little bit differently.
Yeah, definitely. And we started off first changing displays. So instead of having bright colours, we went for Hessian and dark borders and letting the children's work really shine. And then from that, it moved into lighting and creating small spaces and soft furnishings. So it's really, we've really overhauled our environment completely.
And lots of the parents say recently, because we've got now, like, coming into nursery and into reception, a lot of younger siblings whose brothers and sisters came a few years ago, and all the parents have commented on how different it is and such a different feel, which is really nice.
And like you were saying, with all of the bright colours before and so many things around on the walls and everywhere, it really isn't that calming environment that BrainSet talks about. And how, I guess this is important to ask, how did you feel as adults in that environment, not just the children, but yourselves in a busier environment?
I think reflecting now, I don't know how we worked in such a busy environment, actually.
It felt busier and noisier.
Yeah.
Much more noisy.
We've had a lot of visitors come to see our environments, and they've commented on how calm and quiet and engaged our children are in the learning environment. But having the environment right has made it easier for staff to probably focus in on the enhancements as well. So we're not having to think as much about, oh, we need to put this out or this needs to change. We can focus in on, this is what the children need now.
Yeah. So I guess in terms of you as educators, I guess you can kind of think more clearly as well, and then spend more time with the children as well. As that being a thing with the environment. So the way that they're set up, are they set up more in a way of you can support the children more, and also with the children being like more engaged, and maybe you said that they were kind of quieter and calmer. Does that mean like their behavior has changed as well? Like have you had like less issues with behavior if they're more involved?
Yeah, it's meant that staff can be with the children. They're not going off and sorting out first aid or an argument or somebody's upset. It's meant that staff can really focus in on being present, being involved in children's learning. We try to use the environment as much as we possibly can. We kind of bookend our days so that children get an extended period of time in continuous provision. And it's meant that the learning that we get from that is amazing. It can just go on, and it's got no end. So you're not putting a stop to it because you've got to go and sort out somebody's disagreement or somebody's upset or
and they're actually like engaging in sustained play, which is more of that play and learning child-led, or do you have like what's kind of like your mixture? How do you try and like break up the day in terms of adult and child-led? Because if you say there's like quite good chunks of sustained involvement, that means there's not too much kind of stop-start. So is there more adult-led at the start and end of the day, like you said?
Yeah, we kind of do. So we come in, our children do a morning job. This is reception, and they then do maths, and then it's into continuous provision. We don't stop till just before lunch where we do phonics. So we have a good hour and a bit of play. I'm just trying to think what's it. And it means that we can just keep play going, but it's you're not having to stop because it's a mess or everybody's gone wild.
Yeah. And in terms of in nursery, is it similar, or are there kind of more longer like periods of play?
Well, we have 2 sessions, so morning and afternoon, and during each one they have 2, I'd say just over an hour stints in continuous provision. So we stop for story in the middle just to break it up a little bit, because we do still have some of them children that need a little bit of a break halfway through because they can get themselves quite overexcited. No matter how calm the environment is, they are an excitable bunch. But yeah, they're the same. I think they are a tricky cohort in nursery as well.
They are a tricky cohort,
and the environment's really helped like keep them regulated. So there's lots of spaces in our nursery where you can take 1 or 2 off into a quiet corner to like have a little bit of chill time or help them regulate their needs.
The children that come to us do come in a lot lower than age-related expectation, particularly in the like prime areas, speaking and listening and PSED. So, but we've seen real progress.
Oh, that's great.
Across both nursery and reception.
So that's in terms of the PACD, in terms of them feeling a lot calmer, being able to self-regulate through the different areas. And then speaking and listening, why do you think that's really being impacted as well then?
Because our staff have been able to be
more with the children,
being more present, model those good speaking and listening skills that you need, model correct language, correct grammar, expand their vocabulary.
Hiya! Just quickly, I wanted to ask a favour from all of the listeners and viewers. It would really help this podcast if you subscribe on the platform you are listening or watching on. This will help the Voice of Early Childhood podcast to continue putting out thought-provoking and reflective episodes with a range of guests. And if you are enjoying listening to this podcast, please do share it with someone else who you think would love it too. And of course, as always, we encourage you to share your voice too. If you have reflections, thoughts, and comments, please do share this episode on social media with your comments and tag the Voice of Early Childhood. Let's keep these thought-provoking discussions going. Thank you. I'll let you get back to the episode now. So when the children started in September time, you've obviously really you're spending a lot of time getting to know them and understanding what to kind of provide them with in the environment. And that was the time when you started the project as well, more so in terms of with Dr. Sue Allingham and all the training. So I guess you were probably making a lot of changes then, but as the year progresses, you're probably still tweaking things because the children's needs have changed from September until it's been almost like a whole academic year, hasn't it, really? So they've really kind of grown up, really progressed, it's they're nearly like a whole year older, to be honest. So do you find that you're kind of constantly changing the environment, not necessarily all because of BrainSet, but maybe because of the children's needs, or how does that work?
I think now it's just little tweaks that we don't know we're doing it. The environment is so engaging, and the way we think about it, we're just changing things without thinking about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, you just know what you need to do and what you need to tweak and what you need to change.
And then thinking back to the beginning, we did all the big changes quite early on. So if we thought that Play-Doh area is really not fit for purpose, or that construction area is really not fit for purpose, those changes were done September, October time. So they were made for our children and their needs in a way. So through the year, as we got to know them more, we've kind of adapted those areas for the needs as we've gone on, rather than fighting it through the year kind of thing. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah. I think so, because I guess the project kind of came at a good time in terms of at the start of the year, so you could really focus on your children that are new to you. And obviously, I mean, it must have been quite busy because you've got new children coming in anyway, and then you've got a project to think about and all your own continuous professional development and learning and all this knowledge. But actually, you're able to apply it straight away, like you say, instead of just throughout the year thinking, oh God, this is not working and we're not really sure why. You've got all the kind of BrainSet, the foundational knowledge to really go with that from the beginning. And like you said, you just make little tweaks without thinking. So that must be now all that knowledge that you've had really ingrained in you, and this is just your own professional development that you've moved forward with, and you're just kind of, this is just part of your knowledge that you don't even kind of realize, oh, this is different or this is new. It's just kind of sunk in, and this is how you work now. So I guess for you guys professionally, it's meant that your practice has really progressed and your thinking has progressed a lot then.
Yeah, I think that's across the team as well. The teaching assistants have really bought into it. We're hoping that we move some of the BrainSet principles into Key Stage 1 as well.
Yeah.
One of our big things as a school is equity across. And I think our learning environments in early years are set up so purposely for our children and for such a good start that we need to keep that going and carry it on.
Yeah.
So they're starting small in Key Stage 1 with the soft lighting.
Okay.
The muted tones. So hopefully. it'll be the whole school before we know it.
And maybe as the children go through, they'll kind of like influence things. Maybe they'll question things and be like, oh, why is it so bright in this classroom? What are all these bright colours? Hopefully.
If I turn the lights on in nursery, like the big overhead lights, they all go, whoa, like what's happening?
Yeah, why is there like spotlights everywhere, basically? Yeah, because I guess it can be really bright in schools, especially when like things haven't been changed for a while in terms of, some schools are kind of don't get refurbished that often, and you've still got lighting from years and years ago, and it used to be very much like the bright lights and bright colours everywhere. So kind of like that old-fashioned view without all of the knowledge and research that we have now to kind of change things and back it up. And I was going to say, actually, would you be making changes in September when you have new children? Are you kind of thinking ahead of like, we've got these things that we might change, but you're not sure what children you'll get. So will it be that similar kind of point, the same as last year, part of the project? Or like when you were part of the project, you've been making changes at the start. Maybe it's similar because the needs of the children might be very different of the new children.
We're just in the middle of transition at the moment, so we're having some stay and plays, and we're going to home visits and meeting new families.
Oh, that's great! Yeah.
So that things like that will be in the back of our mind when we're off meeting the new families. But I think we're going to pare it back. Just have our basics and then start to rebuild it again. We'll still have all the embedded basic practice and set up, but I think it'll change depending on the cohort that we get.
I was going to say as well, we're quite fortunate in that, like, for me personally in nursery, with how we take children in, half of my new cohort are already here. So
that's so good. Like, you know them.
Every time, so a big chunk of them I'll already know, so the classroom's already ready to meet their needs. And then same for you in reception, you take a lot of our children from nursery, filter into our reception, so we can like pass over things that worked and they can buy from September.
It's really nice to hear that you're really focusing on the children's needs when they're coming in, rather than kind of getting stuck in that trap of what schools kind of normally focus on in terms of that transition to school is the children need to be prepared, rather than we as a setting or school need to be prepared for the children. Because although your reception and nursery and early years based, you're still like within a school and part of a school. So a lot of the time that's kind of the narrative of children need to be ready for us, children need to be ready to go to the next stage, whereas you're all about the needs of the children, the needs of their developing brain, which is what BrainSet is all about. So it's really great that your practice kind of starts from the child rather than like your own needs and needs as a school.
Yeah. Oh, that's making me think.
Now you've got lots of thoughts in your head of like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of shows that what you were saying earlier as well, of like I've just kind of said all this back to you in terms of like, this is what I've heard you do and it sounds really great, and you're like, yeah, I guess so, like I've not really thought about it that much kind of thing. But like, it's just like you said earlier, your practice is just how it is now without you thinking too deeply about it. But that's because you've got all this kind of knowledge and good practice, and like you said earlier, you know why you're doing it. You've got that research base more than you did before in terms of like, oh, this just looks nice and that's why we do it. Actually, now you've got more knowledge of like, this is why we're doing it, because of all the kind of the brain, and the research and the way the brain works and the neuroscience parts that you've learned through BrainSet. So I guess you almost sometimes don't really notice how far you've come along with all the kind of the learning, because it's been like you working in your settings anyway, haven't you? Like, it's not like you've gone off and studied and then come back. So I guess it's harder to see the impact sometimes because so many changes just happen, but they're all day to day through practice. And it's not like you've gone away, learned something, you come back and made a massive change. It's just an ongoing journey, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we've probably not stopped and took a step back enough this year. We've had people like members of staff come in and visit, and they always go, "Oh, it looks amazing in here," and
it's so different, and it's so calm. Has it always been this calm?
And I think that's when you go, oh, actually, yeah, it is a lot different. But it's because, like you said, because it's just practice now that we just do it.
Yeah, it just sounds like it's all like embedded within your day-to-day pedagogy. It's not like you've picked something up from a CPD course and you've implemented it and then you've just kind of like forgotten about it. So I think that's what's so great about projects like this that are ongoing, long-term. It's not just like a one-off training day and that's it. And then you've got to constantly think, okay, how do I put this into practice? Actually, with the whole, like, because it's been like a year of the brain set kind of project, hasn't it? And then, like you said, you've been working on like enabling environments and learning environments, and what did you say, communication friendly spaces and things like that. Yeah. So if you've been working on all of that beforehand as well, it's just been like constantly in the back of your head, like minds of like, how do we really, what's the word, like I'm trying to find the right word, but like really kind of make the environment better by making those small changes and really kind of tweaking, like you were saying. So it's always there and it's just continuously in your head, that progression of like, how do we move things along? How do we make things better rather than just being there and just getting on with day to day and not really improving?
Yeah, I think the project came around at just like the perfect time for us because we were already thinking about our environments and how we could change things, and then with all the pedagogy behind it and all the thinking behind it, it kind of fell into place at the right time.
I guess, yeah, fine tuning. I think that was the word I was looking for. So like really fine tuning everything, but it's all like research informed now, rather than you just thinking, like you said at the start, we've made changes, but we're not sure exactly why.
It just seemed to align with like our values, I think, as like a team.
Our vision.
Yeah, and I think that's why we bought into it so quickly, like so rapidly. Like it just became, as soon as we started to think more about it, it was like, yeah, this is what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah.
It was kind of our thinking, but without having the knowledge, and that was what we wanted to do. And I think that's why, like from that first initial training day, that everyone bought into it, everyone could see like kind of what we were saying we wanted to do, but there was real research and real evidence as to why we should do it. And then
I suppose with having Astrea and Nikki buying into the project as well, and it gave us the confidence to be like, oh, this is the direction everybody wants to go in.
Yeah,
let's go for it.
And I guess when like the senior leadership team are really focusing on this, it's really nice for you guys because early years isn't always kind of the bigger focus in the school or in an academy. So how did it feel that everyone was kind of like putting that focus on early years? Because often it's quite hard working with senior leadership teams, like the early years phase with the rest of kind of primary, because they're more primary kind of focused, or they have that knowledge of primary more than the earlier side of things. So have you found that you have been able to kind of work in line more?
We're lucky because I'm on the senior leadership as well, so I've kind of got a voice for early years. But our head teacher used to be a reception teacher, so she did her time in early years, so she knows the value of early years, and one of her things is to say for other staff to come and see what we're doing in early years as well, subject leaders, or just go and have a look at the learning environments. We've had a lot of like shout outs and praise for it as well. So she's seen the value.
She's seen it working as well. I think like we've kind of like done it, and then people have come in, and then instead of having to kind of fight as corner, they've seen the value, they've seen it working, they've seen it in action. So it's kind of like, yeah, this is right. This is what our children need.
It's so nice to see that senior leadership teams are really seeing that value in early years and understanding that it is the foundations. And just so great to hear that you said your head was in early years. That's quite rare, really. And I have seen some things recently, like on LinkedIn, people saying like every head teacher should be like not just spend time in early years, but have like worked as a teacher or practitioner in early years to be able to get that understanding, to get that knowledge. And we should have more senior leadership from early years rather than just kind of dipping their toes in. So it's really great to kind of see that this has had such a massive impact on you guys. So thank you both, Melissa and Lauren, for coming onto the episode and discussing your journey on this project. It's been really great to hear your experience and how the project has impacted you as educators and, of course, the children. So it's really nice that it's impacted so many areas of your practice. So for all of those listeners and viewers, to find out more about the project, do take a look at the project page. The link is in this episode description. And on the project page, you'll find more podcast episodes from educators and also project facilitators, as well as videos and photos where you can have a little look at the environments and the changes. So thank you all for listening, and thank you once again, Lauren and Melissa.
Thank you.